G'day Internet, welcome back to another video. This here is my recently acquired TI-99 4A from Texas Instruments. It is the later beige model, but in all intents and purposes, it works. Well, once I got a power supply and an RF modulator for it. And yeah, it's a machine, but it's a machine that I have absolutely zero experience with. I vaguely remember a friend of my father's back when I was a little kid having one, and that is about it. So today I'm going to start by throwing some upgrades at this machine. Quick note, almost all, let me think, almost all the upgrades, apart from the video upgrade, I got from Jason at Melbourne Console Reproductions. Link in the description, so thank you very much, Jason. So let's get stuck into it. And as I mentioned, the first thing we're going to upgrade is the video. Now, the RF out of this actually isn't too bad. It's probably the best RF signal I've ever seen out of any machine. May not be saying much, but it's not completely horrible. But we can do better, so let's get stuck into that. So with the computer pulled apart, we're down to the motherboard, and this is a TMS RGB board. Now, if you want the full rundown on this, I highly recommend that you check out Noel's Retro Labs video on this. I'll make sure there's a link somewhere. But essentially, this takes the YUV signals from the graphics chip and outputs R, G, and B. So this is the backside of the graphics chip, and if I understand correctly, you solder in all the various little points. The only thing I'm going to do first is I'm actually going to put a bit of Kapton tape down the middle here, just to make sure that nothing is going to short. Right, now you drop in there, and I go ahead and solder all these various little points. All done. So for the next step, I'm going to take a leaf out of Noel's book, and I'm going to lift the legs on some of these components here to isolate the pins we want to use on the 6-pin DIN that's at the back. So this should be fairly straightforward. Wish me luck. Righto, let's join some wires. Okay, so we've got 5 volt R, G, and B. We don't need sound because it's still connected here, and we don't need ground because it's still connected here. Right, so that's red, green, blue, and sync wired up. Now, there isn't enough room on the 6-pin DIN to also feed out the 5 volt, so I'm going to do the same thing I did on my Amstrad, and this little tail will run out here and we'll meet up with the SCART cable. Right, with the whole thing all back together, let's give this a go. Aha, it works. It's possibly a little over sharpened in place. I think I've got the sharpness already turned right way down. Yeah, I do. But that is really nice, and the color reproduction's pretty good as well. So that's not a bad start. So at this point we have a fully operating machine and with decent video quality. However, that's all it kind of is. You can boot into BASIC and that's kind of your lot. So what I need is a way of being able to load software. Now, back in the day, you had various options. You could load from tape. Cartridge was probably the most popular. I think there might have been a disk interface. I certainly know that there was this huge big expansion box you could get for it, which I think was called the PEB. But in today's day and age, with a machine that I've literally just gotten, what is the best way for me to be able to load software? Well, the community standard seems to be the Final Grom 99, which, as no surprise should come, is an SD card based cartridge replacement. And this is actually quite easy to use. We'll switch it off, pop our cartridge in and turn the machine on. Now, when you first turn the machine on, this little LED here will just simply start flashing. You hit the button that says FG Reset. It'll come on and go off. And then if you hit space, it's available in the boot menu. Hit 2, and from here you can simply browse for whatever game you want to play. So as an example, I'm going to have to try and find it, but I believe... let's go with Ms. Pac-Man. Enter to start. And it's all fairly straightforward. But not everything will run at this point. If I reset the machine, reset the Final Grom, go back into the Final Grom menu, and for instance, if I was to try and load up Frogger, for instance, it will get to here and just hang. And the reason for that is it needs a memory expansion. A lot of games for the TI-99 seem to need this. So Jason to the rescue again. Is a modern 32K RAM expansion. So if we turn this off, plug this in the side, turn it back on, go through the boot procedure, Final Grom, go back into Frogger, and now it works. There's Frogger. Frogger is all up and running. But we keep going with the buts. With the TI-99, it has a fairly limited keyboard. There are buttons kind of marked for arrows, but a much better way of playing games on the TI-99 is with a joystick, or in my case it's going to be a gamepad because that's how I roll. But it's not that simple. It does have a DB9 port on the side labeled joystick, but it's not really Atari, shall we say, Atari compatible. It is the type of DB9 joystick that allows the daisy chaining of two joysticks. The problem is you just take a normal Atari joystick and you plug it in, and it just simply doesn't work. You need a little adapter again courtesy of Jason, that looks like this. You've got the DB9 on the back and 2 joystick ports, and essentially it just uses a series of diodes to split the joystick 1 and joystick 2 signals. So this simply goes into the side like so. We then take a joystick like this TAC2 and plug it in. Now, one thing I have discovered is a bit like the Commodore 64, some games use one port and some games use the other. But if we go back in and we reset the final GROM, go in to B, and go back into Frogger, we're in. See, this one uses the other port. And now I can play Frogger. Whoop. This is actually a brutally difficult version of Frogger. See, it like double jumps when you try and use a joystick. The sideways action is actually quite wide. But it now works, and we have a reasonably decked out TI-99 4A. So there we go. With a few nice upgrades, my TI-99 is quite happy. But like I said, I have absolutely zero experience with the Texas Instruments machine. What I'd like to know from you down in the comments is what are some of the must-play games for this machine? I could sit here for days or weeks chewing through the hundreds of games that are on their SD card, but I would much prefer to hear from you. For now, though, that will wrap it up. Once I've got some better game ideas, I intend to actually try and put aside some time to learn this machine a bit more. If you liked the video, please click like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. If you would like to help support the channel, you can now find me on Patreon, just like these wonderful people here. And is a new little bit, I've started putting some t-shirt designs up on Redbubble. I don't really make much money on it, but they are kind of cool designs, including a Mr. Lurch's Things t-shirt, of course, and again, link down in the description. But until then, I will see you in the next one.